Hello again. Welcome into Crew Call here on the Motor Race Strategy Race. For a while, we got out of a good old-fashioned strategy race with a timely or untimely caution, and just turned out to be fascinating. Good day for some, Paul. Good day for some, but not a good day for others.
Yeah. We saw some people take opportunity. I thought, I'm going to give kudos. Jonathan Hassler, aggressive race, stopped before the stage, put himself in position. And a two-tire call when that 45 to go caution came, which was right at the end, 2 tires and fuel, put himself in position and controlled the race from there. They had a good race car, but they got their track position by aggressive call on pit road. Aggressive
call on pit road. We've seen that from Jonathan here along the way. Some missed opportunities for some drivers and drivers that are on the or getting close to the cusp. Ty Gibbs and Ross Chastain, they did not need a bad day at Pocono, and they both got one.
Yeah, they did. And Ross Chastain had significant damage. I don't know whether it was. I think the tire made it.
He said he just spun.
Really?
The quote I read, he just spun.
Oh, okay. Well, I was going to give him credit. But this is one of those where you looked at the cut line, and Ross and Chris Buescher were kind of close to it, well ahead of Bubba. I think it was 50-some points, but Ross had a tough day, ended up out of the race, and Bubba put together a solid run. I think round
6. Yep.
Yeah. And so that closed that gap up. Actually, Ross has kind of been backing himself up. I'm a little nervous about what we're rolling cars.
50-some down to 27 between Bubba and Ross. So we had talked about nobody can point race in. One more run like that, and someone could point race them in. But again, that's the cut line.
I still think we got another winner that's outside the top 16. So
okay, those are the guys that are on the cut line. Missed opportunity for Denny Hamlin as well.
Yeah. I mean, Denny had control of the race when we had to leave the race. Come into that caution with 45 to go. Came down, took 4. The top 8, I think, took 2. Maybe 2 in the top 10 didn't take 2. But they came out buried. And I felt like I don't know what happened there, but you can't bury yourself that far. Denny made a great effort to get back to second, but that's as far as he could get.
Yep, absolutely. Talking about missed opportunities, I had a chance on Saturday to talk to Chris Buescher, who is in that bubble mix as well. And I asked him, I said, now that we're at the bubble and with Daytona, with different people winning, he said those opportunities, Kansas, remember that close finish with Kyle Busch, closest finish in history, and then Darlington, where Tyler Reddick and him got into it. Missed opportunities, win stickers. Boy, I'm telling you, Chris wishes, he said it's even more so. I wish I had one of those backs. He said it's actually, as we get closer and closer, it's a little bit more frustrating now than it even was then.
Yeah, those opportunities burn more as you get closer to that cut line. Fortunately, got himself ahead of Ross Chastain, who I think is going to be, but he's still going to be right there on the cusp. He's got to continue to do the things they've done. They've put races together. If they continue to do that, I think they march their way forward. We talked a little bit, Ty Gibbs, motor failure, had a really fast car, won the pole.
Yep.
He's backing his way back up towards Chris Buescher as well. So we might see a battle out of Chris Buescher, Ty Gibbs as we roll forward.
Yeah, we're not too far apart, that's for sure. There are like 23 points between them right now and getting closer. Oh, well, good stuff. You mentioned an attaboy to Jonathan Hassler and attaboy to Jonathan Toney, crew chief for Cole Custer. They finally got that win. They've been so close in Xfinity Series.
And you talk about it, they've not had wins this year, but their average finishing position's better than what they did last year. In a championship year. Just haven't had the wins. They got the win, first for Ford in the Xfinity Series in quite a while. So good for them getting that off their back. I feel like there's more to come.
And then this is our weekly after the Truck Series race, attaboy for Scott Zipadelli. Scott Zipadelli and Corey Hine, 5th win of the season. This puts Scott 23rd, tied for 4th on the all-time Truck Series win list with Mike Hillman Jr. And I don't believe that 5 this year is probably the end of the line for Scott Zipadelli and Corey Hine.
No, it's not. It's not. They've put quite a run together. It's been a couple years this way.
Yes.
And just the chemistry continues to grow. They're doing a phenomenal job and getting close to playoffs for the trucks.
Yep.
We're only a few races away from playoffs starting, and the they're stacking those bonus points in front of them.
Stacking those bonus points, that's for sure. So great stuff from Pocono Raceway. We are going to talk to a crew chief who had a top 5 finish at Pocono Raceway. Paul Wolfe from up at Team Penske joins us, and we'll do that in just a second. I always like to mention this. When you get the opportunity, if you're enjoying what we're doing here on Crew Call, get on your social channels and share the show, whether it's YouTube or one of the podcast platforms. Share it, like it, review it, rate it. Those type things help the algorithm and get this show in front of more eyeballs, and we would appreciate you doing that. Stay with us. When we come back, we're going to catch up with Paul Wolfe. Welcome back. It is Crew Call here on the Motor Racing Network. Let's do it. Let's get up to Team Penske. Joining us, crew chief for Joey Logano, the Shell Pennzoil Ford Mustang Dark Horses. Paul Wolfe joins us. Hello, Paul. How are you?
I'm doing well, guys. Hope you are. It's been a little while.
We are doing well. We're doing fantastic here. 5th place run up at Pocono. Got the win a couple weeks ago. Big, broad question. How are things?
Well, they've been better. They've been worse, right? We're doing okay, though. Obviously, we've had a nice little stretch here, through the summer, getting going, with the short track stuff. And then we were able to go to Nashville and get a strategy win there, and continue the momentum and with the solid run at Pocono on Sunday. So not bad. I think we've still obviously got plenty of things to sort through and figure out leading into the playoffs here, because that'll be here before you know it. But not in a bad place, but still plenty to learn here before that all starts.
So you guys kind of talked about being off in the first third of the season, and with no testing and no practice, how do you find your way forward to find speed?
Yeah, it's challenging for sure. We've we try to take every opportunity we can. There has been some couple 50-minute practices, and we have had a couple tire tests to gather a little bit of information, and a lot of that you're learning things, but you're also trying to do correlation to your tools you have back at the shop, right? To your point, without the practice, you got a little bit of two things going on there of yes, learning at the track, but also trying to make your tools better, whether that's your simulation or the simulator. Any type of things that we use week in and week out to prepare for those weekends where there is the 20-minute practices where, the changes are very limited, obviously. So a little bit of that. And then just trying to understand, this was a new body for us again with the Ford Mustang here, and trying to correlate wind tunnel stuff versus, obviously real life, and understanding the aero platform, you hear guys talk about all the time, but that's where it's at. And when I say that, you think about, the wind tunnel will kind of tell you where maybe you can make peak downforce, if you will. But that's not always best for raceability, maybe, not only from an aero balance standpoint, but what's that look like in dirty air and those types of things. So you're trying to learn that as we move forward here. And Pocono's unique, as well as Indy will be coming up this week, but I think you try to take a little bit from every weekend, no matter where you're at, and keep applying that as you move forward. And I think we've done a fair job at that as a company. I think the 12 and the 22 have done a pretty good job of working, hand in hand, trying to be as smart as we can to help one another. And, it's been paying off, I think, not only through those short track races with the 12 getting a win there, but then, being able to back it up again here last weekend at Pocono with a win. So, you got to, as you know, Todd, from our experience together, the more we can work together, the stronger we are. And with the limited practice, that's just magnified even more.
Paul, you mentioned it. We're coming off from Pocono, but we're going to Indianapolis. There's the unique nature of the track. We're going back to the rectangle, if you will. There's differences between Pocono there, obviously, with a smooth racetrack. But you're also with Team Penske, Roger Penske, and that iconic relationship he has, ownership that he has up at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Just as a crew chief, going back to that hallowed grounds with Team Penske, what is that like? Additional pressure, additional satisfaction? Obviously, if you can win it, but what is that like?
Yeah, it's obviously excited to go back. I mean, it was it's been what, 4 years, I guess. And there's always some amount of a little extra pressure, I guess, if you want to call it, going there. Todd's lived it. Fortunately, we were able to get that win as a company there back in 2018, I guess it was, when we were able to do that. So it's exciting. It's iconic racetrack, right? And now with Roger owning the racetrack, we know it means a lot to him, that racetrack in general. So, there's pressure every weekend, right? You hear it from everyone, but I guess maybe it's just a little more special feeling when you walk in there and know what it means to our company and the success they've already had there this year. It would definitely be neat to be able to do another one here with on the NASCAR side. So, it's like you said, it's as you look, you kind of, there's some stuff you can carry over from Pocono. It's probably the closest place you're going to get to it. But with that being said, there's still a lot of things that are quite different. So optimistic going into the weekend, but got to be realistic to know that there's no guarantees, as we know, and success one weekend and struggles the next. We've seen it with this car, and we just got to try to put together what we can, and then make the most of the 50 minutes we have on Friday afternoon. And, ultimately, qualifying is going to be huge. It's a pretty one groove racetrack, as we know, even in the past with the old car. So qualifying will be key. And then, setting you up for pit road, and then the strategy. I mean, the strategy won't be, as we saw last week, how important that was. I don't expect it being a whole lot different this weekend. Goodyear bringing a similar tire, similar construction, a little different tread compound, and I think a gauge change from Pocono. But from what we've seen out of most of these tires this year, I wouldn't expect it to be anything more than, kind of looking at your fuel windows and kind of running it from that standpoint versus, what the tires will be worth.
Yeah. And then this leads into a two-week break, and I'm going to go beyond that. We've got 4 races left in the regular season with Richmond, Michigan, Daytona, and Darlington. What do you take, or what do you learn out of those 4? And I'm going to put this in the second piece. And then how do you go into the playoffs now that we have road courses and speedway events in both the first and second round?
Yeah, I mean, it's those 4 weeks, like I said, is an opportunity to still continue to learn. I mean, obviously different style of tracks in there. Like you said, you look at Richmond, a short track, which historically has been really good for us. We were strong there in the spring race. So, that's an opportunity not only to learn a little bit. I think it's a racetrack we're realistically could get another win, which is nice. Playoff bonus points. So we'll kind of look at that race from that standpoint. Michigan, the high-speed aero stuff, which was probably been our weakness. So I look at that as, as well as this weekend, an opportunity to get a little smarter on the aero front. And then, the speedway, obviously Daytona, we've had a lot of speed at those style of racetracks. Obviously a big opportunity for another win there. A lot of things out of our control. Yeah. But you go there with speed, and that's always nice. And then Darlington, that's kind of a little bit of both, right? It's an aero track, but mechanical is big there as well, especially with the two ends being different. So a nice little mix there to lead us into the playoffs. And then, like you said, I mean, the playoffs, it's a very unique first round when you throw in Watkins Glen in there, Atlanta, and Bristol. So a pretty wide range style of tracks. But we're, focusing one race at a time in that round. Obviously, Atlanta's been really good for us, an opportunity to get that win early to advance us. In Watkins Glen, the 2-car did a Goodyear test up there just a few weeks ago. So we were fortunate to gather some good information there that I hope will help us all when we go back there. And then Bristol, to me, is a little bit of an unknown. we've had success there, but we've had our struggles as well. The tire was obviously a big unknown for everyone the first race. So, kind of what they bring back, what all that looks like, I think you got to be prepared for a little bit of everything as you go into Bristol. But let's hope we've got a win or some nice points leading into Bristol with that bit of an unknown there.
Yeah. Challenging stuff, that's for sure. A little bit of everything. I think that's kind of sums things up. Paul, we appreciate the time. As always, we wish you well at Indy this week. Enjoy your off weeks there with the Olympic break and then on into the playoffs. Thanks for joining us here on Crew Call.
You bet, guys. Good catching up. Talk to you again soon.
There we go. That's Paul Wolfe joining us up from Team Penske. Stay with us. More Crew Call in just a moment. Crew Call rolling along here on the Motor Racing Network. Todd Gordon and Steve Post. Always enjoy catching up with Paul Wolfe. Had to be neat to work with him up at Team Penske, work alongside with him, and never ceases to amaze me what some of the things Paul pulls out and pulls off, and I can't wait to see how they factor in as we go forward.
Yeah, definitely going to be interesting. And this is a team that, if you look at Team Penske through the last 2 years, they've been in a lull come summertime. They turn it on come playoff time. Kind of looks that way. We kind of have the deja vu all over again feeling to me. Paul's always going to say he needs a little bit more. That's part of what makes him good and a championship winning crew chief. So they've got a little work to do, but I'm sure that they will sort that out in the next 6 weeks, a couple off weeks to digest some of that. But and then really, he kind of downplayed it. Going to Indianapolis for Team Penske, there's pressure on that. There's a focus on it. It'd be interesting to see how it all plays out and what we get for a product here on the big track at Indy.
It is going to be interesting to see what happens with it and how that plays out. The stages up there, 50 laps, and 60 laps, 3 very equal stages. So at Pocono, we had a short stage and two longer ones. This one here will kind of get a sense of it probably earlier in the day with those stages being about the same length, I would think.
Yeah, and that's beyond the, I think that's beyond the fuel window. So how you race this race backwards. This is another place that you can come under green flag and not go a lap down if you're within a certain time differential to the leader. So I think, as Paul alluded to, I think you're going to see some strategy things. I think the fuel windows will be played backwards. They'll almost race this like a road course where you race this backwards to make sure you're in a position. The one piece, the caveat with this next-gen car, when we got to 9-second tire pit stops, you can't fill them with fuel. Sometimes you'll see guys kind of strategize their way into making sure that they can do that 9-second pit stop as their last stop, having enough fuel to get there.
Yeah, it's really awkward calling pit stops because you're used to the rhythm of it and we had it at Pocono a couple of times. The guys, they're back away from the tires and you're just holding, waiting for precious gravity to get as much fuel in that fuel cell as they need.
If you look at it, if you're out of fuel, the fuel cell's a little bigger than our Gen 6 car. We're just over 20 gallons on it. And that's going to be, with the exchange times and everything, if you do it perfectly, you're 13 plus seconds to fill it with fuel if you're close to empty. So we could do tires in 9.
Yeah.
There's a 4-second lull there if you're out of gas.
4 seconds only seems like eternity. 3 days when you're calling it. No doubt. It really is cool. It's fascinating. It's going to be fun. That is for sure. Can't wait to see what happens at Indy. Motor Racing Network will be over at the short track, Lucas Oil, Indianapolis Raceway Park. Friday night, 5:30 Eastern Time, the Arc Menard Series, the Circle City 200. And it's a doubleheader coming up at 8 o'clock on Friday night, NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, the 2-Sport 200. And then the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Network has coverage of the NASCAR Xfinity Series and the NASCAR Cup Series at the hallowed grounds of Indianapolis Motor Speedway. So it'll be a fun weekend, both the little track for the trucks and ARCA and the big track for Xfinity and Cup.
Yeah, definitely a cool event to have both of those within 10 miles of each other. I've had great memories of both places.
Yes, it is. Really, really fun stuff for sure. He's Todd Gordon. I'm Steve Post. We're grateful for Paul Wolfe joining us from up at Team Penske. More important, though, than all of that, thank you for joining us this time here on Crew Call.